Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
With Demers claiming 3 podiums in a row and yet to finish outside the top 5, he easily leads the points. However, Alexis is still working on standing on the top step this season. Will Imola finally offer him the chance to take a victory? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 5 of the PRL GT3 Amateur Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Imola's history is probably more closely associated with Formula One than GT racing, but let's head to our track guide to learn more about this place. Welcome to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, but most race fans know this place as simply Imola. This circuit in the northern part of Italy has seen some of the highest highs and lowest lows in motorsports history. The various tragedies that have marred the track left no choice but to alter it in the name of safety. While it originally featured mostly fast, sweeping corners, its modern 3-mile or 5-kilometer version is punctuated by tricky chicanes and incredibly technical turns. iRacing includes the Grand Prix layout and a moto version, which adds 1 more chicane to the front stretch. Tamburello is perhaps the most notorious of the corners for claiming the life of multi-time world champion Ayrton Senna when it was still a single breathtaking turn. Now the Triple Apex not only offers potential passing opportunities, but catches out drivers quite frequently. While heavy braking zones are everywhere, because few places allow the cars to get up to speed, overtaking is generally seen as an exercise in frustration. As if to almost counteract this quality, the track itself is situated in a gorgeous public park and sends the drivers through the beautifully calming Italian countryside. It also includes a fair bit of elevation change, in which the track is split between the higher up back half and the lower first portion. It's no wonder that this place still proves popular with drivers and fans in spite of its difficulties in history. The Tifosi keep returning each and every time the sound of engines roar among the trees, and who can blame them? Well, DJ, yesterday acted as a bit of a preview, so what did we learn about the GT3s here at Imola?
Well, we learned that overtaking really is at a premium, and the best way to get a pass done is to force your opponent into an error. Now, that said, the best place we saw that overtaking happen, well, that was going down to that first corner of Tamburello. The advanced downforce on these GT3s does allow for a little bit of slipstream. We've seen some single-seaters try to make a pass going into the Variante Alta, but not really happening here in these GTs, although you could see a good run going down into Ravazza. But the biggest thing that we've really got to watch out for is just a lot of traffic management. If you get a bunch of cars in the same area of real estate, it could be real tricky for these guys.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them that have showed up today, so certainly will be a talking point, I'm sure. Meanwhile, our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available on the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it for free now at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebutkicker.com.
Today's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL GT3 Am Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software for brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Now, if we take a look at the championship so far in this season, as I mentioned, Demers leads the way with a pretty decent gap over Liberante, but Race has been very quick this season, so I have a feeling he'll be charging forward. Flanagan only a single point back from him, and then it's only 3 more back to Nick McLaughlin, who is the only driver to have taken 2 wins so far in these first 4 rounds. Almanar rounds out your top 5. Going to be an interesting one. Let's take a look at the GT3 Am teams as well.
Well, there you can see NCR Motorsports has an 18-point lead over RF Delta Sports, so not that big of a gap considering the multiple cars that are out on track. Big of a bigger gap back to Apex Button Box, though, with Parabola Racing, Cobalt breathing down their neck, and a pretty big gap back from SDS Racing Team.
For today's event, in the meantime, of course, we've got round 5 with all the different makes that are available, but it is only a 40-minute race, and it's open setup, as well as we expect a scheduled pit stop for fuel, as they can't make it the complete 40 minutes without stopping for that. The incidents will give them a drive-through penalty at 13 and a complete disqualification at 17 incidents. That bonus for pole position actually currently goes to Demers. So despite not looking quick in the warm-up, he's been pretty good here in the qualifying, but we're still waiting on about half the fields to set a time.
Yeah, a lot of them having to do that, and with as many cars as we have out on track right now, it's going to be a very, very crowded place. This isn't a place where you're going to get a whole lot of good slipstreams, so it's going to be about just trying to maximize what you can.
We see them heading down into the Alta chicane here. This is the 256, taking his BMW down to the last couple corners. We've got a little bit of a different makeup as well of the cars here tonight compared to the pros last night. We made mention, kind of highlighted, that we lacked any Ferraris at an Italian track, even though they did have Lamborghinis last night. But we do have Ferraris here today, as in fact our second place driver, Flanagan, Espina was in a Ferrari. Demers coming across in a 42.8, is going to put him into 4th place. Liberante on the provisional pole now, as yet more drivers cycle through. Looks like Espina going to be on that front row, and Trepanier not doing too shabby.
Yeah, and let's see what Almanar is able to do. That looks like it's going to be a slow time for the SDS Racing driver there. Looking for some other hot times to come in here. Lots of drivers still waiting to get a good one. I see Johnny Luna bumping his way up to P11, as does Jordan Walker into 12th. There goes Brian Vorse coming in with a 47. I don't think that one counted for the Delta Sport driver, so he'll have to take another crack at the apple.
13th place for Charlie Sumner, as he finds some good time out there on his latest lap. Drew DeWeese comes across and is able to improve to a 52.6 as Bochelle is up next, and it is a 2-minute flat, so that looks like an out lap for him. What about Zanadakis down in 20th? He's usually a little quicker, and indeed a 42.9 will get him in the top 10.
Well, that'll be exciting. Zanadakis is a very, very exciting driver to see out there. Here comes Baron Hilton. Looks like that's going to be an outlap for him, so that one's not going to count. Looking to see if there's any other quick times coming across. This is just such a crowded track out there today, Joe. Drivers having a hard time finding an opening space.
Yeah, this is Alexander, and he's being followed by Flanagan, who's in 5th. He goes quicker to a 42.6. That'll get him into 4th place, it seems. Trepanier, though, improved as well and got himself up into 2nd. And Matt Hilton was with a good turn of speed in that number 4, putting it in P4.
Very good there for him. He's going to be very, very happy with that. Here comes Baron Glover. Let's see if he's not going to be able to improve on that one. A lot of those BMWs out there doing well. Here comes Brian Hotham. He'll get the benefit of the draft here, and that's going to help him. He's going to improve his time by about a full second, and that's going to get him up to 11th.
Boy, things are really switching around as drivers get things wound up around here. Vorse is able to get a 43 flat, and that will get him into 9th place. Back to Sumner now, and it looks like that lap didn't count for him, unfortunately. So we turn our attention to Morales, another driver that unfortunately didn't have his time count. So waiting on about 4 drivers to put one down: Marini, Kalen, Almanar, and Aubrey.
Yeah, just waiting for them to get those times in. Here comes Espina. That's going to be an outlap for him. I see Lawson Christie's able to improve up to 18th. Here comes Cervantes. That's going to be a slow lap to the line. Looks like Daniel Barnett has had a spin there, so that's going to hurt him. Here comes Mark Kalin. He has yet to set a time. Let's see if the car Ramrod driver is actually going to be able to get on the boards here. It's a 43.8 if it sticks, and it does. It's going to be 15th.
Let's hope he has a better start to the race this time than he did last race. As Neil Alexander sets a 43.3. He'll take that 15th away from Sumner's. Kalen rather. Trepanier doesn't set a time. McLaughlin does. That'll put him into 9th, but for a driver that's won twice, I think he's going to want to be a little bit higher up the order.
Yeah, I think he will too. Todd Lewis there coming across. He was able to improve, but not well enough to really do anything there. Spencer Semkowicz not able to improve as well. Here comes Jonathan Almanar, one of those drivers yet to set a time. That's a 42.8. That's going to bump him all the way up to 8th.
Excellent jump for him. Kwok Nin, a 43.1, 13th for him. Johnny Luna, unfortunately, has his time deleted, so Desjardins is not going to have that one count as well. Baron Hilton off pace as he was on an outlap, and Sumner once again failing to set a time. Marini, a 43.1. That's the first to get on the board for the 45 car, and that'll put him in 16th.
So he'll be happy with that. Here comes Zanadakis again, one of those BMW drivers populating the field. This looks like it could be a pretty good time there. Got a little bit of a draft down the straight. Oop, I lied and I jinxed it. That's a slow time for him. Jordan Walker now coming to the line back in 27th at the moment. He's going to have a slow lap there.
So up next is back to Kalen, already been shuffled to 20th after a few more drivers found something on the track. 43.8 is 400ths quicker than what he had before, so he'll stay in that 20th spot. DeWeese didn't have that lap count. Got a number of them coming to the line now, including our pole sitter. He's already got about half a second, and he goes even faster, a tenth more away from Trepignet.
Wow, Liberante really putting his stamp on the field. Here comes Boschel, unable to put in a good time at the moment. Todd Lewis, one of the cars very far back in the field right now. That 144, that is going to help him. That's going to bump him up to 25th position, and here comes Semkovic.
Almanar down to a 42.5. That'll get him into 7th, as Simkovic didn't find any improvement. Quoknin as well has his lap deleted. Johnny Luna up next, and it's a 43.8 for Johnny, but I'm not seeing him advance up the order.
Good run there for Brian Vorst, though. He's had a string of a couple of bad races, so he'll be happy to see himself up into 6th. Baron Hilton, they're able to improve, but still a very, very slow time. I actually think that one didn't count for him, unfortunately. Antonino coming across. Ooh, Zanadakis taking a little trip across the kitty litter there.
Yeah, so his last lap won't count, and McLaughlin on his final flyer was able to get up into 3rd. Let's see if he'll retain that. So we watch Chet Miller come through. Jordan Walker takes the checkered flag, doesn't go any faster. Cervantes in 13th will not set his best time on the last time around. Drew DeWeese is next in his Porsche. A 44.3 stays a 44.3.
That's not going to help him out too much. Here comes Charles Boschel. Ooh, a little bit of a wide run there through the middle of Ravazza. Good line, though, coming out of Ravazza, too. Now it's just all on to the power. It's going to be tough to get down to the line in about 5 seconds. I don't think this is going to be quick, and indeed, he's going to pull off. But here comes Todd Lewis.
So Lewis up next, down in 25th. The 44.4 is 0.2 quicker than that last lap for him. Almanar has a 42.2 now, and that will get him into 3rd ahead of McLaughlin. Trepignet, who's currently on the front row, doesn't have that one count, had an off track somewhere. And Brian Vorst looks off the pace, so I think that is everybody who is able to set a time. 33 cars out in the field today. I see, we're missing, well, I was going to say Matthew Aubry. He's not set a time, but he is in the session. It's Parker Muirhead who has suddenly disconnected, and he did set a time. Hopefully he can get back in the next minute or so and be able to grid up. But we've got great conditions here today, DJ. It's a cool track early in the morning in Italy, and everybody hopefully has had a nice, refreshing Italian breakfast and is ready to go.
Very much so. And those 74 degrees, now that's a pretty good temperature for these tires, but the one thing the drivers are going to have to watch out for is the opening couple of corners. That's a little bit cool for them, and so they're going to have to make sure that the tires are up to temperature before they start to get really, really aggressive diving on into anything. They're going to have to be very, very careful about it and make sure that they don't try to overcook it going down into Tamburello.
All right, so qualifying session ticks down to 0 and officially ends, which means it's time to go through our starting order here today. And on the pole of everyone, it is Race Liberante once again. Vincent Trepignet starts in 2nd, as Jonathan Almanar will be 3rd. Nick McLaughlin in 4th is followed by our points leader, Alexis Demers. Espina, P6, followed by Vorst in 7th, Hilton 8th, Flanagan 9th, and Antonino in P10.
In 11th, it's going to be Baron Glover, followed by Nico Zanadakis, with Danny Cervantes and Quoknin making up row 7. Brian Hotham's going to line up 15th. Next to him, Loreto Marini, with Jason Larson and Marc-Andre Desjardins behind them in row 9. And then making up the last of your top 20, it's Neil Alexander and Mark Kalin.
Johnny Luna starts 21st, followed by Drew DeWeese. Next row has Rodrigo Morales on the inside and Lawson Christie in 24th. Todd Lewis, P25 for him, followed by Charles Sumner in the 26th spot. Then it's Parker Muirhead in 27th and Jordan Walker in 28th. Simkovic and Miller are on the next row, and the last 3 to set time are Boschel, Barnett, and Baron Hilton. as Matthew Aubrey will grid up at the very back in 34th, but I do not see Muirhead back on the track yet. I don't think he's going to be able to make it in time. In the meantime, let's take a look at our onboards real quick. We've got Paul Espina, joining us here from the 6th position. And then just a little bit ahead of him is the number 62 of Nick McLaughlin. And finally, we have Kwok Nin with us here today as well. Has a very interesting background going on for him. In the meantime, we are out of the final corner as the Porsche pace car leads the front row of Liberante and Trepanier down towards the front stretch. He's into the pit entry, and Liberante is on it. Green flag is out for round 5 in the PRL GT3 Amateur Series. It's a big jump for race, and Trepanier has a stream of cars behind him. McLaughlin, Almanar, Espina, all following down into the heavy braking of Tamburello, but none of them able to make a move, although it's still side by side between Almanar and McLaughlin. Everybody else behind so far seems decent. I'm not seeing anybody off the track, and it looks like Almanar is the one to give up the ghost, as Espina is even going to get a spot ahead of him.
Yeah, he really is there. It just looked like that he had to back off big time coming through Tamburello. Massive, massive amount of catch up here. They come down into Tosa. This is where it can be a little bit hairy. Couple of cars going a little bit wide. Ooh, maybe some contact in the back there, but for the most part, this field getting through nice and clean.
I was a little worried coming into this what Tamburello would hold for us in the amateur series, but I'm glad to see everybody take it easy through there. Down into Aqua Minerale for the first time, and it is still Liberante by almost a full second over Vincent, with McLaughlin hoping to try and play catch-up. Now, last time Nick managed to pull a bit of a strategy call to get himself ahead. With the nature of this track, I feel like a move like that will be quite handy today.
I have to agree with you there, Joe, especially thinking about that traffic. If they stay pretty bunched up here and one of these drivers is able to get an undercut where they're able to come out in clean air, that could have massive dividends once the pit cycle has completed itself.
Well, it's become very, very single file all throughout the pack on this first lap, but it is Liberante, Trepanier, and McLaughlin, your top 3 as we finish the first circuit around. Oh, and Cervantes had a bad exit. Danny Cervantes in the 25 is very slow down the front stretch and is getting gobbled up by everybody.
Yeah, he certainly is. There you can see him just getting past 1, 2, 3, and that's a 2x2 battle going on right ahead of them into Tamburello. This could get very hairy.
Yeah, that's Alexander along with Hotham. Larson, oh, and Larson has a mistake into Tamburello. Kalen around his outside. Can he complete the pass? He's got the momentum, oh, and he's gonna get shoved off for the second race in a row, but this time he survives it. Larson is gonna drift off the track and re-enter a little bit later, but he just loses all kinds of spots here into Villeneuve. Meanwhile, the battle continues amongst this group.
I've really got to say there, Kalen just very unfortunate there. A little bit of a rough maneuver coming on from Alexander. Good for him to hold on to the car. Up ahead of him, though, Hotham trying to keep everything together here. Everything going nice and easy. Alexander trying to get up behind Brian Hotham, and this battle continues.
Boy, Neil Alexander really took advantage of all that on the first lap and a quarter, because he's from 19th to 14th. And already sizing up Hotham as we ride on board with Neil, taking a poke on the Porsche in front of him, but his Porsche is not far enough alongside. Oh no! A mistake through the Alta chicane loses him almost every spot that he gained.
And Joe, we really didn't get a chance to talk about it pre-race, but those big curbs there at Alta, you can take a little bit more of them in these GT cars as compared to a single-seater, but they can still come out to bite you, and that's exactly what happened there to Neil Alexander.
So we look at Nick McLaughlin, instead of being on the chase for Liberante, instead, he's trying to hold off Espina, Almanar, Demers, and Matt Hilton, basically going back to 7th.
Yeah, it's a nice little train here. We're going to jump on board with Nick looking out the back of that Ferrari. You can see everybody coming up behind there. That's Almanar just trying to get something. Oh, and Nick, that's Nick off.
Oh, no. After Nick was having a good qualifying and a good start to this race, McLaughlin gets to the inside. The 02 is not going to give it up easily. He holds station, but here in Piratella, I don't think you're going to be able to make a pass unless he's gutsy. Just doesn't have the grip. Now he's got to play defense on Demers, but he's got the inside into Aqua Minerale. He's starting to fall back, and that's 2 spots gone right there. So Demers up into 5th.
And watch out here, Matt Hilton got a good run out of Aqua Minerale. He may fancy a little bit of a move. Oh no, it's going to be David Flanagan that fancies that move going into Variante Alta, but very wisely backs off. Really a single file way through those corners. They're going to keep it here. Let's keep our eyes focused here. We ride on board with Matt Hilton. I have a sneaking suspicion we may see something coming into Ravazza 1.
Down into Ravazza, no, just not willing to try it into there. And all kinds of craziness behind them. Around 15th place. Looks like Luna, Alexander, and Kalen were almost 3 wide for a brief moment onto the front stretch. Are they going to repeat that? Kalen's got a great run. Let's see if he can put an overtake on Alexander.
Yeah, I think that was a combination of Kalen getting a good run and Alexander not getting the best run out there possible. Kalen just tucking behind right now. This is BMW versus Porsche. Doesn't look like he quite has the legs. I think the draft ahead of him from Luna is helping him out. Ooh, they're going to be tight on the binders, and Kalen's forced to back off. But that's a bad mid-corner there for Neil Alexander.
And in front of them, Vorse had it off. We'll see him as they flash by on the screen, trying to get the car going. There he is, slow out of Villeneuve. A number of spots going through. Did he have help, or was this all his own doing?
Well, let's take a look here. We're looking at Johnny Luna right now. There's Vorse as he's off. Let's wind back that replay to see what happened here. He is in that black machine, comes through the first corner, a little bit too much speed. I think he took a little bit of the curb, and ooh, that is a hard hit to the left front, Joe.
So hopefully his speed isn't too hurt by that, and especially hopefully he didn't hit the suspension since he hit the corner of the car. Now he's stuck in the middle of all this action we were watching before, which is still erupting. Can't quite see it from this angle, but Alexander tried to move on Luna there into Alta and then backed out of it. All of them out of that chicane. This is a string of vehicles behind Danny Cervantes, who currently sits in 13th.
Yeah, and it looks a little bit like Cervantes is the cork in the bottle here, just holding everybody up. We'll have to see if maybe Johnny Luna can get a good run coming out of Ravazza 2. There he goes. Didn't look like the best one. Oh, that's Kalen. That's Kalen spinning around.
Bad couple of races for that 12 machine, it seems. He'll get it turned around. He's, of course, running the 62, which he typically runs in the NASCAR series here for the PRL. He'll eventually get it going, but you can see he's all the way down in 28th. So up towards the front once again. Espina has gotten by McLaughlin. So 3rd place swapping around. Demers still in there, but a little ways back, and they have a gap to the cars behind them. But they also have a gap in front. It's 4 whole seconds to Trepanier. In fact, they do have a bit of a battle brewing in that group behind them that is about 1.3 seconds back. Almanar, Hilton, and Flanagan.
Flanagan got a very good run there at Aqua Minerale. He thinks about the move into Alta. Once again, a little bit of mind games. Woohoo! Big bunch of curb there, both for Hilton and for Flanagan. Now they come down the hill into Ravazza 1. I don't think anybody's going to have it quite here. It's all going to come down to that exit out of Ravazza 2.
Certainly looks to be the case. Out of the second apex, everybody trying to square this one off. But they look even with one another. Don't think anybody's going to get a good enough of a run to try and attack into Tamburello. continue to ride on board here with David Flanagan in the 8th position. Now we hop off and see them breaking into that first chicane.
Yeah, everybody keeping it a little bit collected here, not trying to go too aggressive. Still have about 30 minutes left in this race, so that is plenty of time for things to play out. Remember, especially with that, Nick McLaughlin in the last race, just absolutely the definition of patience, and that paid out for him.
Ooh, somebody with a big mistake there in the background. I'm not sure who that was, but they certainly had to save it. In the meantime, we hop on board with Nick McLaughlin.
Yeah, and this is Nick starting to look a little bit aggressive up at Paul Espina ahead of them. This is, of course, the battle of the Ferraris. Now, the Ferrari GT3, normally considered to be one of the most well-balanced cars all the way around. Doesn't have a whole lot of defects, doesn't have a whole lot of strengths. It's just good there, but McLaughlin definitely getting a better run out of Agua Minerale. Tries to come down there, both on the binders, gives them a little bit more space. That was Espina up onto 2 wheels through the first part of the chicane.
And I can report it was Antonino who had that big moment we saw in the background. Didn't wreck it, didn't spin it, just got it back onto the track, getting right up underneath Espina. McLaughlin is getting very eager here, and that Ferrari has a very good exit. Question is it good enough of an exit?
This is Espina that we're riding out of the board of that we're looking out the back of. You can see him on screen. Love seeing that pedal cam as well. Here comes that draft coming into effect for McLaughlin. Is he going to try to make a move? No, a little bit of a lift there, I think, for McLaughlin. Could he be playing a fuel strategy game here, Joe?
Could be. We saw him do it last time, but he's making the birthday boy a little bit nervous. Certainly making him play defense at a few corners. And if they start fighting any more, Demers would love that, because that'll get him a bunch of tenths of a second that he needs to try and get involved in the fight.
Yeah, and you can see in the background there, Matt Hilton having an off on the exit of Villeneuve, so that's going to cost him a couple of positions, but we'll keep our eyes focused up here. And you're very right. Even if McLaughlin is not actively trying to overtake, if Espina is just a little bit slower, that's going to allow for Demers to really reel him in.
So along the higher part of the course here, just working their way up towards Alta, being led along by Paul Espina. And the last step on the podium currently, with about 10 minutes in. And looks like we had an off for Johnny Luna. Don't think we need to go back to this. Yeah, single car spin. He's going to fall down to 20th, sadly. Love when we're able to do this, watching both drivers as we get to witness this battle unfold. Let's see who is the cooler customer amongst them. Espina with a great exit out of Ravata, I have to say here, DJ.
Yeah, that was a very, very good run, and you can really see the infinitesimal area that he is coming close to that wall. Now watch his feet. They are hard onto the brakes, lifting off just a hair of trail braking, not putting any brakes on through the second part of Tamburello there. Let's keep it here. Let's watch what he does through Villeneuve. This is such a tricky corner. They're hard onto the brakes, lift it off with the trail brake, a little bit more trail brake, feather it off, and get back onto the throttle. That, ladies and gentlemen, get a blackboard, write that down. That is how you handle a GT car.
Climbing up out of Tosa now. And I'd say that Demers is starting to close in. It was about 0.8 of a second before. It's now down to 0.5 of a second. We're going to watch from the perspective of the 256 car leading the championship. He started exactly where he sits right now, in the 5th position. But there's still plenty of race left if he wants to try and improve on that.
Yes, there is. Ran a little bit wide there on the exit of Agua Minerale, just letting the car carry ever so slightly. You see those big chunks of the curbs everybody's taking. Looks like McLaughlin got a little bit of a better run there on the exit of the corner as he tries to make the assault. I think Demers right now is relatively happy to sit back here. He's got a pretty big gap looking backwards to Jonathan Almanar of about 2 seconds, and he's okay with letting these two Ferraris fight it out and just waiting for the opportune moment.
Bad news for fans of Lautaro Marini. He has had to take a tow. I think he is done for the day. Continuing to watch the fight for third between Espina, McLaughlin, and Demers, but Nick has got one of the best runs we've seen recently. Still not quite good enough. He gets within about a car length, unless he just wants to sit here. It's like Flanagan's managed to get past Jonathan. Let's take a look at this. This was a clean one into Tamburello.
Hard thing to do, and there you see very late on the brakes is Flanagan and just muscles his way through that corner. Good respect there from Almanar, not trying to bang doors with him.
I think they may have seen some of the other issues other drivers have had in that corner and have just decided better to live again another day and race one another closer to the end a little bit harder. See Jordan Walker heading into the pits. Wonder if that's one of our first scheduled stops, because we are within that pit window, but nobody has come in strictly for fuel. Oh, and a mistake! A mistake from Flanagan.
And that was a little bit coming, Joe. He also got passed on the exit of Villeneuve by Antonino, and I think he just got into his head a little bit. Let's watch this. This is Aqua Minerale, just gets off onto the grass and sends that car spinning right around. So easy to do. It is almost a cliche to say, but that corner, that sequence of two corners, is one of the hardest corners to drive on the face of the planet.
Might be one of my least favorite corners to drive here in iRacing. So hard to make it feel like you've gotten the most out of it, but then I was never very good at trail braking. So Flanagan falls down to 11th, and now he is working on Baron Glover, the first up on his attempts at a recovery drive.
We're going to jump back up to check that battle for the final podium position to see if Nick McLaughlin is trying to do anything to close down here. Gaps at about a half a second. Meanwhile, behind them, as we've been saying, Demers closing in as well. He's got that down to about 0.6 as well.
I believe last time it was about 5 seconds shorter for McLaughlin compared to Race on the pit stops. Considering he's about 7 seconds behind, I don't think that Nick is going to be able to try and jump the 34 this time, but he could get himself onto the podium. Just, I'm sure he was hoping for something better than this as they come down towards Aqua Minerale once again. One thing to note, though, about Demers behind them, I believe his worst finish is a 4th place so far this season. So this 5th actually is not the best of days for him.
No, it's really and truly not. Ooh, there they come across again as we ride on board with Demers, just trying to stalk these two behind. Keeping an eye on McLaughlin to see if there's maybe a bit of fuel saving going on, but this is really a battle that I feel like is calming down a little bit, but could get very hairy as the race continues. The other thing to keep in mind, Mark Kalin only about 3 seconds up the road from them. He is a lapped car.
Yeah, we still have what looks like 29 drivers on track, even though we've lost a couple already. And this battle for third flies past the pit exit one more time down into the first braking zone, with Espina managing to both get past and now hold back Nick McLaughlin. Are we going to see any of them try to pit in at this halfway point? Here goes Kalin. And nicely done there.
Yeah, good sportsmanship from him, getting on out of the way. Ooh, a little bit of an off run there for McLaughlin, getting a little flirty with the kitty litter. That could come back to bite him a little bit, but he didn't look like he lost too much time.
Ooh, I can tell you, as far as Jordan Walker, he actually had to come into the pits to serve a drive-through penalty, and that is also why we're seeing Kalin lapped. He's been through pit lane for exceeding the track boundaries too much, as well as obviously gathering some incidents with some contact. I'm sure he's just thrilled that that is added to his woes today. Out of Aqua Minerale once again, continue to watch these three. You've also got a little bit of a fight between Antonino, Matt Hilton, Almanar, and Zanadakis.
Yeah, starting to shape up a little bit here. Everybody within a second of each other. There you see them bouncing across the curbs. Xanadakis looking like he may have had a little bit of run there on Almanar, but they're spread out enough right now. Although I will say that is Kalen again up ahead. This is about the exact same place that we saw him catch Espina and McLaughlin.
I think we finally had our first scheduled pit stop. It was Rodrigo Morales is in and out and is now into 26th place. Oh, we might want to go up to McLaughlin. McLaughlin's got a great run, and he's going to look around the outside as Paul defends, but not really a full-on attempt from Nick this time through. Still hard to judge on what he's exactly trying to do.
Well, I think the only thing that really allowed for him to do is allow for Demers to close up a lot more. You can see in that virtual rearview mirror there that BMW is now all up the tailpipe of that Ferrari, and this has truly become a three-car battle.
And it's only a two-make battle in these top five. Two BMWs at the top spots, then a couple Ferraris, and as you mentioned, Demers also running the German mark here today. He's going to have to get closer than this. Nick now putting some more pressure on that orange and blue number 20 machine.
Yes, he is. Can't really make the pass here for the next couple of corners. He's going to have to back off. That's going to lead him a little bit into the clutches of Demers potentially. Spread out as they go down this mini straight towards Variante Alta. Let's see. Ooh, good underbraking there is Nick McLaughlin, both taking big, heavy amounts of the curb. Didn't get the best exit there, did the 62. He's going to have to hope for a better one through Ravazza.
Yeah, it looked like the 62 took way too much from my perspective, but he's still close to him, so it couldn't have hurt him too badly. Last time he got a good run. Can he repeat it? It's not looking super close. Demers is just a little bit farther back than McLaughlin is to Espina, and yeah, I don't think he's near as to the rear of that Ferrari as he would like to be. Are they going past more lap traffic? Yes, that is Aubrey trying to stay out of the way, and unfortunately causing a bit of a headache for Demers.
Yeah, but look at that speed carried through Tamburello by McLaughlin. He may think about having to move into Villeneuve. He's going to poke his nose to the outside. Can he actually pull this off? Late on the brakes. He's got the inside line. That's McLaughlin. Can he keep 4-4 on the road? Yes, he can. An amazing move by Nick McLaughlin, but there comes Almanar coming back at him. Or Espina.
Coming off of Tosa, he cuts back with a better exit off the corner. This will give him a nose on the inside of Piratella. Is this going to be enough? He's got the overlap, keeps it beside him, doesn't wash out into the Ferrari, but McLaughlin says, no, I want this third back.
Hoi, hoi, hoi. Joe, you know, last night we were talking about just how tricky it is to make a pass there around Villeneuve, and there, Nick McLaughlin just showing how that was, and you saw that little smile creep across his face. He knew he did a good job on that one.
Almost looked like Paul, he started to defend, and then that caused him to break early into the corner. I feel like he could have stayed on the racing line and been a little bit more safe than that. But always easy to be an armchair quarterback from out here inside the car. It's always a different story down the front stretch. This time McLaughlin has the clear air in front of him, and he is nowhere near to being threatened by the 20.
No, he is not, and now we'll have to see what Demers can do with Espina right ahead of him to see if there's any sort of fight he can be able to bring. McLaughlin now just has to set his sights up the road, and it's going to be a tall, tall order. Vincent Trepanier, a full 9 and almost 10 seconds ahead.
I think the opportunity was wasted by that one as we get side-by-side action. That's Flanagan on the outside, Glover to the inside, and a little bit of a shove will push Baron Glover back. It's just not wide enough through Tamburello.
No, and I actually think David Flanagan got saved there by a little bit of a mistake on his part. He caught that inside curbing, and that caused him to overcorrect the car, and I think that scared off Baron Glover from trying to keep a sturdier defense.
He'll get more opportunities as long as he can stick with them. We've had more drivers pit in, but none of our front runners have pitted yet. Kwoknin is the latest. Morales still our highest pitter in the group. So Flanagan, remember, he's on a bit of a recovery drive here, so back to 10th. He's actually only one spot away from where he started. So just about has made up that much, but he was a little bit higher when he had his spin, unfortunately. 16 minutes left to go. Worth noting, we do have a bit of a battle kind of brewing in the lead. Liberante and Trepanier are a mere second apart from one another.
Yeah, Joe, I've been keeping an eye on this. There you can see it, just Trepanier bringing this down ever so slightly, inch by inch by inch. He's now got it down to under a second into braking for Tamburello. This could develop into something very, very spicy depending on how pit stops play out.
We've got a front runner giving it a go. Jonathan Almanar is now in. So will he take over that highest pitter spot from Morales? So we watch the top two now head up the hill out of Tosa. And still at about that 1 second apart between them. Liberante, once again, will have to be flawless. And he certainly can't make any pit stop mistakes this time around.
Ooh, speaking of flawless, that was not flawless there out of Liberante, but we're going to ride on board with Trepanier here as they make their way through Agua Minerale. Both drivers coming through. That looked a little slow at the apex for Liberante, but a little bit of counter steer for Trepanier may have negated any gain that he had.
Now through Alta between them. Car looked very planted through there, I have to say. Whatever Vincent's put on the car, it's making it handle quite a dream right now. Down into the Ravazza sequence of corners at the very tail end of the lap. Trying to square it off, get himself nice and close. He gets as close as 0.8 of a second, but not closer, and that's too far back for an effective slipstream. You can see maybe he's being towed along, but not enough that he can attack.
Yeah, not really enough. He's only gaining about 1 mile an hour or 2 over Liberante, not nearly enough. But what that will do is will allow him to continue to close that gap. It's just down to him to get it. We've got some more pitters, though. I see Espina and Tonino both coming down pit lane.
So Espina is pitting an alternate strategy to those around him. Antonino, though, I think is responding to Almanar, who should be coming by right as he exits the pits. There we see the onboard. Drivers, even in real life, have to take a short break, get themselves a little bit of refreshment, rehydrate. Espina ready to go. Oh, what's wrong with Espina? He's in long. Did he have a speeding penalty?
He must have, Joe. That is a super, super long stop for Paul Espina. I'm watching on the boards here, getting past 30 seconds. If he hits 40, that's going to be exactly about what I would call a speeding penalty. Let's see if he keeps going. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
Well, it's almost up to 45. Still holding station. Something is wrong for sure, as he's bleeding places left and right, and now he's on his way. I do think it was a speeding penalty, 52 seconds total for him. But I went back and looked, and it didn't seem like he was over the pit limit, unless it wasn't immediately when he ducked into pit lane. And another problem for David Flanagan, again, in Aqua Minerale. In the meantime, Liberante and Trepanier pit on the same lap, and so does McLaughlin.
Ooh, this is gonna make things fun here, Joe. This is what we're waiting for. Who can be the fastest in and the fastest out? Both of these drivers gonna be praying that they don't miss their pit stalls. Here they come, ready to come down into the box in this curving pit lane. 1, 2, nobody missed.
McLaughlin next following them, but he's got so much time to make up. Most drivers between 9 to 12 seconds. Oh, and is that, yeah, Trepanier has jumped Liberante once again. The 87 finds himself managing to pull the same move on the 34 as McLaughlin.
He was about a second shorter in the box, Joe. That's how he pulled it off, and that is how he is ahead right now. So now the tables have turned, and we're going to have to see here if Liberante can give chase.
Wow. Okay, then. So we're still waiting on Demers, Glover, and Flanagan to pit. But clearly, Liberante, his Achilles heel, are these pit stops.
Very much so, as we now ride on board with Race as he tries to chase down Trepignet. Let's see if he's got the fortitude to do it.
I'm curious if the 87 himself has the means to try and defend. Does he have the pace to defend on Race Liberante, who has got to be very hungry to get his second win, try and make sure that McLaughlin does not threaten him in this championship. Nick has been trying to come forward with his back and forth results, not as consistent as Race. Right on board with the BMW, just watching that red, white, and blue car navigate the track in front of him.
Yeah, and now we've got Demers coming in as well, but we're going to stay here to see if there's any response at all that can be had from these guys. And they're pretty much in a race of their own at this point, mind you, as Nick McLaughlin is about 8 seconds back. Demers, by the way, the last driver to take that pit stop.
Yep, looks like Glover is in. Trepignet easily by as Demers is just getting up to speed, but his race is with McLaughlin. Is Alexis going to be able to pull a Demers switch, or is McLaughlin able to stay ahead? And McLaughlin keeps it.
Nice work there from McLaughlin, though. Some couple of quick out laps for him as we kick down here. Under 10 minutes to go in this race.
Back up at the front, Liberante within 0.3 of a second. He's threatening now. 9 minutes, the 87 has to withstand this pressure.
Well, he's going to have to do his best. BMW versus BMW. Trepignet wanting this win, but I guarantee you the Liberante wants to try to take it away from him as much as possible. Both drivers going through it there on Piratella. A little bit of a wider line for Trepignet. He's going to have to watch out for that. Make sure he doesn't pick up an incident point.
Curious what the traffic looks like in front of them. They got some clear area, as you can see on our screens, but I can report Simkovic, Boschel, and Barnett are all in a battle for position up the road. They look likely to catch them before this race is over. Last drivers on the lead lap. The purple car is Barnett there, then Boschel in the black, and the green belongs to Simkovic.
Yeah, so this is that last battle. You can see Boschel doing a little bit of weaving, just trying to find the best angle to get that draft. We're going to jump back to the leaders, though, because this could get a little bit spicy. This is Liberante coming on with a full head of steam.
Yeah, we were able to see them in the same shot briefly. They still have some laps to go before they catch them. As down the front stretch, a good bit of slipstream for Liberante will not produce a result. He'll have to stay in line, but that is valuable information for the Black 34 machine.
It is indeed. This is a little bit of a situation of him, I think, just learning on where Trepignet is strong and where he is weak and trying to find the opportunity to attack.
And I'm checking the lap times. If I'm seeing this correctly, they're about 4 seconds a lap quicker. So yeah, they are going to run them down quite fast here. And more and more, that trio is showing up in our shots as they disappear over the crests up through the next corner of the left-hander down towards Aquaminerale. Liberante just hovering under that rear wing.
Yeah, just hovering and seeing what he can do. A little bit of a twitch there for Trepignet. Ooh, that battle up ahead getting very, very fierce as well. This is going to play a big problem for our leaders.
Yeah, I think Simkovic, Barnett lost both spots in that and did that switch around at just the right time. I think they're going to catch Barnett first, maybe by this corner. If not, they are going to catch him. Much better braking for Trepignet as we ride on board. He's being held up a bit. This is the best opportunity for Race. If he gets a good enough exit, especially comparatively, that looks like a compromise for Vincent. Here we go.
He's going to try to make the move. He certainly has enough to make the draft. Here comes Liberante. Vincent being a little bit defensive. Ooh, pinching him a little bit there. That's shades of Bottas and Russell as they come down into Tamarello. Here they are, side by side. That's Liberante to the inside, Trepanier to the outside. Ooh, over the curbs. Big hit for Trepanier, but he keeps it on the road, but Liberante able to pull in front.
Wow! Elbows out between them, and Liberante makes it stick. Just the slightest of brushes through the middle apex, and he is back in front. He did not want to be denied twice in a row by a bad pit stop, but they still haven't overtaken that lap traffic. Will it suddenly be paid back to him?
It very well could. That's Semkowicz who's getting out of the way there for Liberante, but I think that's going to hold up Trepanier a little bit more. Oh, no, right at the worst point in Piratella.
And they made contact. Trepanier coming together with Semkowicz. He's going to be steaming after this one. He was already on the radio to Barnett, upset that he had lost the speed onto the main straight. And then you'll see here, coming through on Semkowicz, just clattered into the side of him.
And, you know, I gotta say that is very unfortunate to have that happen to a leader, but I'm not sure there's a whole lot more Spencer could have done, save just completely driving off the side of the track.
So we look back in 5th place now. Hilton and Antonino, who started just inside the top 10, are squabbling over the last space within the top 5.
Yes, they are, and Hilton on a good charge here. He's got that gap under 0.4 of a second. Now, that's about the range that we can see that draft really start to be effective. Let's see how he does through Ravazza here as they go through. Believe that's a little bit of lap traffic up ahead of them, if I'm not mistaken, so that could play a little bit of a play here. Now, as they get onto the main straightaway, that is going to be a 0.4 of a second advantage. Does Antonino have enough to pull it?
It doesn't look like it to me. I think he's way too far back. That's not for position in front of him, although it is 2-lapped cars, and they just made contact. That's Nin and Lewis, slowing both of them up. Hopefully Kwok is watching here and able to see them coming along. Yeah, yep, there he goes. Just pulls off to the side and lets him through. Oh, a huge wreck in front of him with Boschel and the 187 and Spencer Semkowicz. The battle we were watching before leaves him on his lid.
Oh my goodness gracious, Joe. That is the damage there you can see in the pits. Let's jump back to check out this replay if we can. Just absolute carnage out on track. Having some problems with our replays. We're going to go back live here, but this is just a heartbreak for both Boschel and Semkowicz.
So that takes that battle away. And you can see him sitting despondently in his pit lane. Liberante still leads this race. And Trepanier now a full 2 seconds back. So I don't think Vincent's going to be able to do anything on race pace to try and challenge that 34. Almost wonder if Vincent is experiencing a little bit of damage that's slowing him up. The Canadian seems to have dropped relatively quickly.
Yeah, he has. Oh my goodness, what a dive bomb there for Jonathan Almanar on Nico Zanadakis, going down into Ravazza 1 out of nowhere. Neither car making contact with each other, and it's now down a straight drag race, but that's going to be Almanar tucking back into the draft with Zanadakis. This battle is not over.
Nico's had the better run, but offers up the slipstream to Jonathan, who looks around the outside, but is not deep enough on the brakes, still covering him off. Zanadakis could be offline enough that John could get an over-under, and it's just not there as we ride aboard the Ferrari. He has to settle for 8th.
Yeah, he's going to have to hold on to it here. Under 2.5 minutes to go. Looks like a little bit of a better run for Villeneuve if he can keep up the speed on corner exit. Not exactly able to, so he's going to have to rewind it back up here.
Wow, it's been a miserable day for Flanagan. Don't need to go to it, but he had another self-spin. This time into Ravazza, he falls to 14th after starting from 9th. Could have been so much more for that 789 car here today. Watching from onboard Hilton, or excuse me, from onboard Zanadakis, rather. Looking at the Ferrari of Almanar. Ooh, and off the apex there for the 07.
Let's see if he's going to be brave enough to make the move into Alta. I don't think he's got it. He's still about 0.3 of a second back. Pokes his nose a little bit just to make sure that Xanadakis knows that he's there. Now, if I'm Xanadakis, I know that he made a very aggressive move going down into Ravazza. They've got some lap traffic clocked in, and Todd Lewis ahead of them, getting a little bit of a good draft here. This could be a moment.
Let's see if this is going to be enough. The 07 doing his darndest to try and stay out of his reach, but I'm not sure that he is far enough away. It's about 3 car lengths between them. Coming down across the start-finish line now. Getting closer. Almenar's going to run out of straightaway soon. It'll take a big dive, and he's just not close enough to pull that kind of move, it seems. Now, I think we're going to get the white flag next time by for Liberante. I think he just crossed with enough left.
I think that's right, Joe. I was doing a little bit of math in my head, which is always a scary thing for me to be doing, but I think that is right.
So as we continue to watch Xanadakis and Almenar, still separated by about 0.2 of a second. Who is willing to risk it here for a 7th place right at the end?
Let's see what he is willing to throw out there. We're going to jump back up to the lead, though, because this could be very, very close. This may be the checkered flag, Joe.
I think you're right. Yeah, 10 seconds left. This is it. We are on the white flag lap. Race Liberante was not going to be denied this time. A 4-second gap after having to fight his way back into the lead. Pit stop or no, he was going to win this one. The 34 takes victory here at Imola.
A great run for Race and a good chase down. Vincent Trepanier, an equally great job there. Got a little held up by traffic. And let's not forget Nick McLaughlin, who really did a wonderful job to be able to come home on that final step of the podium. But let's jump back here to that final battle. Looks like Xanadakis is going to be able to hold that out over Jonathan Almenar.
And it was a close one between Hilton and Antonino. Almenar just shy in the end. Got a little bit of a battle for 12th. Hotham and Alexander tight together here. Porsche versus Porsche. Let's see who is able to come out ahead. As looks like sister teams as well.
Yeah, indeed. So they're going to be thinking a little bit about that, I'm sure. I don't think Alexander's going to have the run that he wants to. No, I think this is going to be Hotham's position unless something catastrophic happens.
Oh, but he's slowing. He's slowing. I can't tell if that was a loss of fuel or if Alexander was let by, and that was a team call. Interesting stuff. Only 19 left on the lead lap here today, so we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. welcome back to Imola Round 5 in the Precision Racing League GT3 Amateur Series. Saw Race Liberante get win number 2. It was about 4 seconds ahead of Trepignet, who actually led after the pit stops. Race, once again for the second race in a row, found himself jumped, but this time he fought back. Nick McLaughlin was third today, finally kind of breaking the win or nothing streak that he had, but still a good podium. Demers was fourth, tying his worst finish so far this season, which is an impressive feat just hearing that phrase. Matt Hilton was P5 as Antonino finished in 6th. Zanadakis from 12th to 7th, pretty good climb. Almanar unfortunately falling backwards to 8th as Baron Glover was 9th and Espina wound up 10th.
Danny Cervantes was able to come home in 11th, followed by Neil Alexander and Brian Hotham. Johnny Luna was in 14th, and Lawson Christie coming up 9 positions to be in 15th. Chet Miller having a very, very good run up 14 spots into 16th, followed by Charles Sumner and Matthew Aubry, with Rodrigo Morales being the last on the lead lap and David Flanagan finishing a lap down.
Then in 21st, it was Barnett with Lewis and Simkovic, 22nd and 23rd. Mark Kalin, another rough day for the 12 car, 24th place. Jordan Walker in 25th and DeWeese in 26th. Baron Hilton saw the checkered flag a lap down in 27th. Then from there, you've got your DNFs with Boschel, Nin, Vorse, Marini, Larson, Desjardins, and Muirhead was a did not start. I believe we've got our winner ready to talk to us. Race Liberante. Race, last time you found yourself jumped in the pit stop. You had to settle for second place. This time it looked like you were absolutely not settling for that P2.
Yeah, I thought I learned my lesson after the last few races, but after my big mistake, I think 7 or 8 laps in, I was just on the gas the whole time. My plan was to hopefully stretch it out a little bit, save some fuel so I didn't get jumped in the pits. But that mistake really cost my whole strategy. So we had really, really good pace in practice and qualifying, so I was pretty stoked on that. And I thought I was going to be able to kind of cruise out to a healthy lead and just try and save, and that wasn't the case. So yeah, I got jumped again in the pits, and yeah, I wasn't going to take no for an answer this time. Luckily for me, this time the lap traffic kind of played in my favor, and I was able to get by Trepignet. But yeah, we made a little contact, so sorry to him for that. It definitely didn't mean to. I thought I committed to that block pass, and he was still there. But yeah, it was a good race. I'm pretty stoked to get another win. Keep this momentum up for all the guys. I just wish the teammates had a little bit of a run, but get them next time, hopefully.
Now, you had, I guess you could say, one blemish so far, and the drop weeks will certainly help that. The Hockenheim giving you a poor result. Does that make you feel any sense of pressure to perform more consistently, considering next time you finish far back in the pack, it will count?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just know I can't make as many big bobbles or mistakes like I did in Hockenheim. So just trying to stay consistent and not rush anything. By nature, I'm somewhat aggressive. So just trying to keep myself tame. And if some days, if second or third's all we got, then that's kind of all we got. But the points are really on our side right now after the drops. So I'm just trying to focus on the championship and just be smart.
Speaking of which, then, coming up to Spa next week, another one where fuel strategy could come into play, considering the long straights there. Do you see yourself focusing hard on trying to get that one figured out, maybe work with some teammates?
Yeah, this week we didn't really get to all work together, and some of us are on different cars, so we're going to definitely try and get together. The whole team saw success this week with the pros and the AM, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, I definitely want to try and get with those guys and see what we can do for fuel strategy as well as downforce settings. This track, Vincent had less downforce than I did, and it definitely played in his favor down the straights, and so going to do some homework for the next one. But yeah, I was pretty stoked on the results. I got to thank the whole Delta Sport team and all of our partners, Unified for Kids, Move Up, Race Factory, and the rest of the sponsors that help us do what we do, and you guys as well as PRL and their partners. Thank you.
That was Race Liberante Victor here today at Imola. Up next is third place finisher Nick McLaughlin. DJ has caught up with him.
Well, Nick, it's only a third place here today, but I got to say that was a pretty hard-fought third place. Some excellent battles there going along. You got to feel pretty proud about that.
Oh, that was a hell of a drive. I had a bunch of laps there fighting with Paul. Really gutted actually. It looked like he took a speeding penalty into the pits. Hate to see it, but love fighting with him.
Well, I want to ask you, when you were in that battle, it looked like you were kind of holding back a little bit. Was that any bit of fuel strategy, or was that little bit of just sort of waiting for the right opportunity to fully attack?
There was a little bit of fuel saving in there. Completely honest, Imola's not really my strongest track, and I didn't think I could pull away from him even if I did make a move. I definitely wasn't catching Vincent and Race. Those guys are rapid around here. So I was just saving some fuel, and then I think it was into the second chicane there. He took a defensive line, and I managed to beat him around the outside, and pretty stoked about that pass.
I would be too, man. I know I may be adding that to my commentary reel because I was screaming and shouting about it as you were making it. But I want to ask you, you're one of the few drivers here that's in the Ferrari, and it seems like you're really able to get the maximum out of it. What do you find that's really working for you in this compared to the other models?
Ferrari is just kind of my comfort pick for the GT3s. I haven't spent a lot of time in the other ones. So I guess I know how to throw it around. It helps that I've got some good setups. TQ Engineering puts a good car into me week to week, so hats off to them.
Well, there you go, my friend. Anybody you'd like to thank for this third place here today?
Thank you guys for broadcasting. Always a treat. Thanks to PRL, of course. And give a shout out to Paul Espina there. I see it's his birthday, so happy birthday, buddy. Good fighting.
Well, thank you, Nick. That was your third place finisher, Nick McLaughlin. Joe?
Which is going to close us out. So we have to give a big thank you to the sponsors as well, which includes ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available on the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. ButtKicker as well. Feel what you've been missing at thebutkicker.com. And SimMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net. As well as NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed on the screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more awesome work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media that we've listed here. Also, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. Keep a link in the description below. While you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because in a week's time, we're off to a classic Spa. That'll be Tuesday, July 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. And in about an hour's time, we're off to Brands Hatch for the Flying Huskies. That'll be at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.